No, he is Dr. Francisco Contreras is not only a friend, but he is a mentor, because I follow what he does and see what he does, and I'm continually amazed. He's always searching. He's always looking for the answers. And his father before him was like that as well. His father was a saint. You know, people that went to the clinic felt the presence of God when Ernesto Contreras entered the room. And we wish that he were still alive right now to be able to share this award with Francisco. But Francisco has other family members that work with him in the clinic, and their clinic is doing great work, and their clinic needs accolades, needs to be shouted from the mountaintops what they're doing. And so it's quite an honor for us to be able to give this award to Dr. Contreras specifically, and to the Contreras family, and to the Oasis of Hope. It is with great pleasure that I present the very first award, Lifetime Achievement Award, from the Academy of Comprehensive Integrative Medicine to Dr. Francisco Contreras. Please welcome.
Thank you very much. Please sit down. Please sit down. I want to thank Bill and Lee for this very, very and most undeserved award. We have been doing what we feel that God has wanted us to do, and that's it. So everything is a thing of perspective, how we look at things. I tell my patients that you can become a cancer victor today. It doesn't matter what happens to your tumor. I've had patients that were told that they were going to die in 3 months. 2 years later, they're free of tumor, and they're, cracking their knuckles. And why are you so in angst? I don't know when it's going to come back. So even though they had a miracle, they're still victims of cancer. And yet I have other patients that come to me and say, cancer is the best thing that ever happened to me. Because it opened up my eyes to things that God was giving me, and I was not appreciating them. That guy was already a victor of cancer. Everything is a matter of perspective. So when we fight these giants, we have to have that hope. And we have to have that faith that we are going to be able to overcome. If not, you're going to be mad, frustrated, and depressed like a typical oncologist is. You know, the typical oncologist is the most frustrated, mad, and depressed guy in the world. Why? Because out of every 10 patients that he treats, he kills 11. Usually a family member is going to die also from watching what they're doing. And so we have to fight these giants in order to overcome what's happening in medicine today. And the reason for the failure, it's not lack of brains. I mean, the most bright people in the world are working in cancer research. I did it for 5 years. It's not lack of commitment. The motto when I was working in that area was that you will have time to sleep in the grave. Now you work, and we work 24 hours, all day in surgery, all night in research. It's not a lack of funds here in America. Since the war on cancer was declared, you've spent $250 billion in cancer research. You have nothing to show for it, but you spent it. So what is the problem? Well, the problem is really philosophical. You see, the current philosophy of fighting cancer nowadays is to get rid of tumors. And obviously it sounds logical. We want to get rid of tumors. But you put the whole aim into the tumor. 90% of the money spent is on primary tumors, and 10% on metastases. 99% of the patients die because of metastases, and that's what we're not studying. Why? Because metastases have too many variables. It's just too complicated, so let's not study them. And people continue to die. So philosophically, as long as it doesn't change, we're not going to advance. And that's why my father started working things with a completely different philosophy, where our aim, our target is not the tumor, but the patient. And so our two pillars first, do no harm. All of our therapies are going to be therapies that are going to be aimed at improving the quality of life of the patient. And oncologists break that on a daily basis, because it's known that most of the patients die due to complications of the therapies, not because of the cancer. And the second rule is what Jesus said: love your patient as you love yourself. So, are you going to give to your patients something that you wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole? There was a publication about 10 years ago in Clinical Oncology. They polled oncologists, 118 oncologists, and they asked them, would you give multiple chemotherapy to a cancer patient with stage 4 cancer of the lung? All of them said yes. Next question. If you had stage 4 cancer of the lung, would you give yourself multiple chemotherapy? 84% said no, and the other 16% were lying. And I can tell you that because on the month before it was published that patients with stage 4 cancer of the lung live longer and better if you don't treat them. So oncologists are breaking those two rules, and that is why we are failing. That is the reason for the failure. About 15 years ago, my father and I did a very interesting work in following up patients that took lateral for cancer, stage 4 cancer of the lung. And we were able to see in our statistics that 25% of our patients were alive after 5 years. So we presented this paper to the World Congress of Cancer that was going to be the next year in Argentina. And to our big surprise, we were accepted. Wow. 3 days before the presentation, we received a telegram. There were no emails then. We received a telegram: you cannot do it because if you present the paper, it's going to be published, and the publication is peer-reviewed, and so not until you have a peer review will you be able to present this. And so I know that this is bad, and so we have set up for you an appointment with specialists in the field in the Sloan Kettering Institute for your paper to be reviewed. And so we were flabbergasted, we were very happy. It was February, and here we go to Sloan Kettering. And for a Mexican in New York, all of this coldness and snow and all this. And so I'm carrying the 200 cases and my dad, and we arrive, 5 minutes before the meeting, and punctually at 11 o'clock, 10 doctors storm in. And he says, okay, Dr. Contreras, put your first slide. And I put it, X-ray. It said, this is a patient with such and such, and the big tumor, you could see it. And the next X-ray, and the tumor's still there. And the doctor just got up like that. Oh, that's a failure. Look at this. He puts one very similar case to my dad's, and he puts the next one and 0 tumor. And so my father said, and what happened to the patient? I said, oh, he died. But mine is alive. Yeah, but didn't do anything to the tumor. The 10 got up and left. Case number 1. And my father is a very cheerful and positive man. And he's sitting down all crunched and like devastated. And I wanted to kick everybody that I could see. I was so mad. And I said to my dad, Dad, I'll take your live failures all day long instead of those dead successes. Let's go. And so we need to change. The perspective of life and death is different to a patient when you are able to convince them that you don't need to get rid of the tumor. So this patient had the same tumor 5 years later, but he was enjoying life. It's a very good alternative to cure, because to the patient, it really doesn't matter. He was enjoying life. So what we're trying to do at the Oasis of Hope is really establish a good relationship between the tumor and the patient, like a good marriage. What's a good marriage? You don't bother me, I don't bother you. Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is so touching. Thank you.
If you heard his lecture this morning, you got a little taste of why he has this award. Just now you got a better taste of why he has this award. Okay? Very well deserved. And it's an honor and a pleasure to have been able to give it to him.